Welcome to Business Class. I'm Steve Ekstrom from Learn Tourism, a nonprofit academy dedicated to advancing the tourism industry through innovative training and sustainable practices. Our mission? To empower travel professionals and communities with the knowledge they need to create meaningful, authentic, and sustainable tourism experiences. Ready to join us on this journey? Visit learntourism.org and start making a difference today.
My
Please.
name is Cagdas. I'm originally from Istanbul, Turkey. I do my PhD in Vancouver, Canada at Simon Fraser University in management fields. I have a background in psychology, but I recently switched to business schools. So it's been a fun journey. And although not very conventional, I have an interest as a research interest on digital nomadism. It's not very popular in the business school. People don't really think that it's relevant, but I think it's a big chunk of the workforce now and it's becoming more important. So for that reason, I reach out to people and I have 10, 12 questions that I prepared and ask those questions and hope to learn more about digital nomadism and your first-hand experiences.
Have you ever been a digital nomad yourself?
No, unfortunately not. I have not been able to achieve it. I am schooling, so they expect me to be here. And I also teach in person, so they also expect me to be here. So my answer is unfortunately no. I wish I could give it a try. My first question is I want to get to know you. Would you please tell me a bit about yourself?
I am a nerd. I love to learn. It took me a really long time to realize that my passion was not in art, culture, music, food, history, nature, the sciences. My passion was about learning. And travel is a learning experience. Every day you're waking up somewhere new, you're trying different foods, meeting different people, learning about them, their culture, their history, the surroundings, the geography. Being a nerd is just part of who I am.
That's pretty cool. That's very nice. So I checked your profile and I believe you are educating people in terms of tourism and also in the management part, which is super interesting. Can you please tell me about your work and your career journey to this?
After some college, I decided to wait tables at a restaurant. And I got a job as a sales manager to help get groups and tourists into the restaurant. I worked in museums, theater, attractions, and on Broadway in New York, and with city and state governments, helping them bring more tourists to their front doors. Understanding that tourism is a major driver of economic benefit and community improvement when done well.
Yeah.
So along the way, I realized that a lot of the training and education available to people who worked in the tourism industry was pretty terrible. I set about to fix it. What will it take to make education more transformative, engaging, and accessible for people who work in the tourism space so they can do better things for their communities, their families, and the visitor who's coming to experience it? That's how Learn Tourism, the nonprofit organization, got started. Now we work with organizations to build training programs for them and their various stakeholder groups. We incorporate elements of organizational psychology, adult learning theory, behavioral economics, instructional design, so that those programs deliver transformations. People are able to do things that they weren't doing before, and they're comfortable doing them, that people are engaged in the learning experience, not just passively watching a video or having a video play in the background, but they're actually participating and engaged in the learning experience. And that learning be accessible to them when, where, and how they learn best. We know that there are at least 7 different learning styles. So we work to create training that meets people how they learn. Are you a kinetic learner? Are you a visual learner? Are you an audio learner? We're going to present information and content to you in various ways so that it works for everybody. Is it accessible to all? Being able to deliver that online and on demand in various languages, that's a big part of it. That's what we do here at Learn Tourism. My job is to remove barriers and to empower other people to do the right thing for the right reasons.
Oh, that sounds super neat. And I'm glad that you are delivering this service because I think you made a really good point. From what I see, the training facilities or institutions for tourism education is not as strong as somebody would wish to. So sometimes the weight is on the organization to train their own employees. And it's awesome that delivering that. It's pretty amazing. How about digital nomadism? When did you decide to become a digital nomad? Was it an intentional move or it just happened happened to be that way? And how long have you been doing it?
About 3.5 years ago, I had a big house in South Florida. And I thought, this is a big house for one person and a dog. It's a lot of work to take care of it. So why not go live on an island for a year or go travel for a year or just do something wild and crazy? My neighbor had an RV that he had bought a month before COVID. I asked if I could rent it for 2 or 3 months to take a trip and visit people I'd met through my work or places I'd learned about that seemed interesting. And I ended up buying the RV instead of renting it. Now, 3.5 years later, with one more dog than I started,
Oh,
I'm still traveling.
wow. That is very amazing. I think in one of your articles, I've seen the picture of the RV. I think that was a black Dodge. Yeah, that's very amazing. I spent a week or so in one of those, and honestly, it's enough for one person, even two. That's pretty awesome.
I'll tell you 3 funny things about me being a digital nomad. Number one, I used to travel so much for work that all I wanted to do was to be home. Now I travel 364 nights a year,
Oh, wow.
but I
Wow.
take my bed with me. I take my
So
home
you
with me.
found the middle ground.
Exactly. The second element is that I didn't love driving.
Okay.
Driving is actually stressful when you think about it because there's all these people out there and everybody's doing their own thing and somebody's not paying attention. You're driving a big machine. I didn't love driving, but here I am. I drive every single week to a new destination. The third thing that's pretty funny is that I don't love camping. My dad tried when I was a kid to get me to love camping and the outdoor stuff and the campfire. So when other people are starting up their campfire to roast marshmallows, I'm connected by Starlink and watching Netflix in a luxury RV that has my own sink and kitchen and bathroom and multiple beds and TV and all that good stuff. It's a different experience than some. I've seen some that live outside of their van every day and just are inside for sleep. No, I'm inside working.
No, that's super neat. Really like it. So how did you envision this? So it seems like when COVID hit, you bought the RV, which is amazing. And how, what were your expectations about this lifestyle? And do you see a fit or a misfit between what you expected to be or what you currently have? How do you feel about it?
So it was about a year and a half into COVID when I started this adventure. And I think that's the key word. It's an adventure.
Yeah.
And I think when you think about what it is that you're doing and how it is that you're living, there is a freedom that comes with accepting things as being an adventure and not just a series of obstacles or achievements or check marks and tasks to put on a list. I think that has been the greatest eye-opening moment. And it forces me to enjoy the present moment. I may not be in this same place again. So I'm
Yes.
going to enjoy the view, even if it's just while I'm walking the dogs. I may not be in the desert to enjoy the stars at night the way I was. So take a moment to do that. And that's a gift. A lot of people don't give themselves that gift because they're in the same place every day. They do the same thing every day. They go to the same schedule, the same shop, the same coffee place. Everything to me is new. Everything to me is a learning experience. And
No,
I embrace that.
no, it's very nice. And I think I've seen your article on focusing on the present, and it really resonated with me as well. It's really good. Am I wrong to assume that if it's an adventure, is it like a planned time window that you spared for it? Or is it like a infinite timeline that you are going to see how you feel about it? Do you have any plans to keep it or not keep it?
I have a reservation through this weekend. Before I leave here, I'll figure out where I go next. Because one of the things that we do as humans is we plan ahead and we build expectations. And with expectations comes anxiety and pressure. It has been a conscious act to be in the present. It has been a conscious act to embrace that, you know what, it's all going to work out. Why worry about tomorrow? Why worry about next week? You'll make it work. And it's having that confidence in yourself and that faith in your own abilities and your own desire to make it work that allows that freedom. So there has to be, I think digital nomads have to have a sense of self-sufficiency. They have to have a sense of trust in their own abilities and capabilities, and they have to have a sense of adventure.
I see. So it's the fuel. The adventure is the fuel for all these ambiguity. Like you have to embrace it and you have to be self-confident too.
Yeah, I wouldn't say adventure is the fuel, but I would say that embracing it as part of the adventure
Yeah.
is what allows one to be at peace with how they are
Oh, I
and
see.
where they
No,
are, what they're doing.
no, that makes quite a lot of sense. And I'm curious because this adventure can be transformative, right? Personally, professionally. How do you think this experience evolved you as a person or as a professional? Do you feel any changes on yourself since you embarked on this journey?
I think I've become a better person because I've been able to see and recognize what people have in common. So much of who we are as a society and who we are as a people is a fear of others, a misunderstanding of what's important to different people. I think the more you travel and experience the world and the more you meet people in genuine and sincere ways, the more you realize that we all have in common. And when you realize that we have more in common, then you as the individual can embrace a sense of humility in your day to day. And that's something that comes with being a digital nomad, which is different than being just a traveler. As a digital nomad, you blend into the community for the period of time that you're there. You become a temporary resident, temporary member of the community. As a traveler, you are the tourist. You are the business traveler carrying the map. I think a lot of digital nomads embrace the opportunity to get a little bit lost so they can understand and experience something different, new, having the faith that it'll all work out.
I really like it. And I think your mobility is quite high, even for a digital nomad, right? From what I understand, do you stay at one location at most for a week or do you stay longer? That's
Yeah.
very cool.
Usually for about a week. I'd like to say my schedule is to work 4 days, really long, busy days, take a day off to be a tourist,
Mhm.
to try things and enjoy different restaurant activities and attractions. Spend a day traveling from here to the next place and give myself a day to rest. So 4 days work, 1 day travel, 1 day tourist, 1 day rest. Does it always work out like that? No. But if I find myself someplace where it just feels good to be there, I can stay longer. I've stayed in some places up to 5 or 6 weeks at a time just because it feels right and it's comfortable. And then there are other places where I know I have to be in a certain place for a meeting in several weeks. I'm going to stay 2 nights here and 2 nights there to make sure that I make it to the next place that I have to be at. But that's part of that planning ahead, which is not the most fun part of the adventure.
No, I understand. That's very nice. And I normally ask people if they have a home base. Some people have a home base that they travel to and from, and some people don't have a home at all. But in your case, it does not make sense for me to ask this question because your home base is your vehicle and you're always at home. That is pretty amazing, actually.
It's funny because my niece and I had this conversation about hotels yesterday and about what makes a nice hotel, what makes a nice place to stay. I've checked into some beautiful hotels and looked out the window to see my own bed sitting in the parking lot. And I don't care if the hotel was $300, $400, $500 a night. I have the opportunity to be at home everywhere I am. I found myself going to conferences in Phoenix or Scottsdale where I stayed at a horse ranch 15 minutes away from the host hotel. Not because the hotel wasn't nice, the hotel was beautiful, but I have my own home. I have my own custom made mattress that I can sleep in. I found myself in downtown Chicago or Denver in a hotel for a meeting or a convention and looking out the window and seeing my van and my own bed sitting there in the parking lot and thinking I have to carry all this stuff into the hotel just to spend 2 nights. I'm not doing that again if I don't have to.
No, I can totally understand that. And it's so nice that you have your dogs with you. I believe one of the primary challenges, let's say, that digital nomads face is loneliness, especially for solo travelers. I heard that the road can get lonely. How do you feel about it? Do you think having your dogs is helping with the cabin fever?
I think you'll get cabin fever no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, if you allow yourself to be isolated. Now, there's a difference between being alone and being lonely, and that's a mental state. That is not a physical state. To be alone, but to understand that there are people out there who care about you, that you care about, then one is not lonely.
I agree.
One of the things that COVID brought us is an ability to be more connected with the people that we care about, whether it's FaceTime or just phone calls or texting. I found that to be incredibly helpful. Now, do the dogs make a difference? I saw a video yesterday about a gentleman trying to pick up girls' phone numbers. Walking down the street, none of the girls wanted to give him their phone number. He did the same thing with a dog and had 6 women approach him in half an hour.
I should try that.
I think having a dog or a pet can influence that sense of loneliness. You are more approachable when you have an animal. You are more likely to talk to your neighbors. You have a reason to have a conversation with somebody. What kind of dog do you have? Where did you get your dog? I think that adds to the ability to have a sense of community no matter where you are.
Such a good
that
point.
you may not have without. At the same time, there are digital nomads who are all about the festival or the roundups or the meetups, and they have that sense of community with the people who travel in similar circles. There are some places that you can travel as a digital nomad where you will run into the same people every week, every other week for months. Go to Baja, California. It's the same people on the same route. So you're going to run into people and you're going to have friends that you meet and see on the ferry in Guadalajara. And then you see them again in La Paz and Baja, South California Sur. You find community where you seek it, and dogs can be helpful in that.
No, that's very good. And most people that I speak to, they're mostly originated from Europe and they mostly digital nomad around Southeast Asia. So I never actually spoke to somebody who is traveling interstate in US. And I think it's very interesting. I was surprised to hear that there actually is an internal digital nomad community within US who happen to know each other throughout these interactions. That's really nice, actually.
Where I have found similar nomads, more so than the US, was in Mexico.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because it's very easy to identify people with a van who are staying on the beach. Or in Canada, see somebody else pull up with a van, you're both getting on the same ferry, and we became friends. My friend Dylan, who I met getting on a ferry in Canada at the middle of the night to go across the St. Lawrence at dawn. I've met Dylan in the US again, and we've met each other in Mexico again. So you can have that sense of community. You can meet others. And of course, there are the Facebook groups, the social groups for networking with others. There are lots of opportunities in that way.
No, that's very cool. I'm trying to be mindful of your time, so I'm just going to wrap up my questions.
Please.
And, I'm curious, if you were to describe your full digital nomad experience in a sentence, how would you describe it? You could also use a metaphor if you would like to.
An adventure.
An adventure. Okay, that was my guess. Yeah. No, that's very cool. And do you think there is a question that I should have asked you, but I actually didn't? Do you think I'm missing like a major aspect of this lifestyle?
That is one of my favorite questions to ask.
You do ask that too?
I host a podcast. I've interviewed hundreds of people. Every single one of those interviews includes, is there something I didn't ask that you wish I did?
That's amazing.
The one thing you didn't ask is advice for somebody who might be considering taking up being a digital nomad. And my response would be this. Right now, there is somebody out there who has less than you have, who is doing what you want to do, and they're happier for it.
That's cool.
In the context of travel, that means there's somebody who hasn't saved up as much money as you have for the perfect trip, but they're having an amazing experience. I think people need to gift themselves the ability to trust themselves to make an experience work.
No, that really resonates. So thank you so much. Actually, that's such a good question. It's the lessons you took from this adventure. They really do make sense. Well, no, thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen. I really enjoyed this conversation. Beyond the research purposes, I genuinely enjoyed it. And is that okay if I connect you in the future again, if I have like more
Absolutely.
questions from yours? Thank you very much.
You've made a new friend.
Thank you. Likewise. If you ever happen to be in Vancouver with your van, I would like to host you here and show you around.
To do that at some point.
That will be lovely. I don't know if you've been in British Columbia. Yeah,
Beautiful.
amazing.
Thank you so much for taking the time and the interest. I'd love to see what you produce after all of this with your studies.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Business Class. This episode was brought to you by Learn Tourism, the nonprofit academy where we advance the tourism industry with cutting-edge training and sustainable practices. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to visit learntourism.org to learn more about our programs and how you can get involved. Until next time, stay curious, continue learning and making a difference through tourism.